Tennessee cornerback Ricky Gibson set to miss extended period of time. Are the Vols in trouble?
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, good Tuesday morning and welcome into Locked On Vols, your number one spot, your number one destination for Tennessee football news and entertainment weekday mornings when you wake up, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Cain. Thanks so much for being here. I'm a member of the VolQuest.com team here in town covering your University of Tennessee athletics. And today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Football season is here. It's not around the corner anymore. It is here. Visit FanDuel App today and start planning your future bets right now. All right, so we got loads to talk about here today. Coming up in segment number one, injury updates on Tennessee's starting cornerback, Ricky Gibson, and starting defensive tackle Jaxson Moi from Josh Heupel. Segment two, ESPN loving the University of Tennessee after a week one performance over Syracuse, and then taking your mailbag questions coming up in segment number three. All right, so what is the latest on Tennessee cornerback Jermon McCoy? Gosh, I did it again. Ricky Gibson. We know Jermon McCoy is currently sidelined, recovering from a torn ACL. Hope to get him back in the next couple of weeks. Somebody asked about Georgia. I don't know. We'll see over how this week goes and next week, but I think that would be wishful thinking right now. That's just my personal opinion. But Josh Heupel gave an injury update on Ricky Gibson, the other starting cornerback, and defensive tackle Jaxson Moi. Let's start with Ricky Gibson. And Josh Heupel pretty much was open, honest, and I was actually kind of surprised that he gave that much information. Josh Heupel doesn't talk injuries. If he answers an injury question, it's, see how he is on the grass. We'll see how he is later in the week, blah, 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 blah. Coach speak, nothing, open my mouth talking, but nothing's coming out type deal, right? He said he's going to miss an extended period of time. Said, I don't know how long that will be right now, but it will be an extended period of time. And man, that's unfortunate, right? And talking with some people Saturday, and you got to give it time to breathe, because you talk with some people on Saturday and it felt like, oh, well, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And, Sunday was kind of the same situation. And then you get here on Monday morning or Monday afternoon, whenever we go meet Josh Heupel, I guess, and it's kind of changed a little bit. And, it doesn't mean that it's a huge injury or a horrible injury, but obviously when he says he's going to miss an extended period of time, that's not what you want to hear, especially when Georgia comes to town the week after next. So a lot of times with injuries, you kind of have to let this materialize a little bit. I remember Cain and Peely, that Virginia game, his first game in orange and white to kick off the 2023 season, when he tore his tricep or bicep, whatever it was. He didn't even really know he was hurt until after the game. He's like, man, that's really, you're pumped up on adrenaline, you're going. It's like, man, that really hurts. That's not just your normal soreness. And he goes, gets it checked out, and boom, he's out for the year. So sometimes it takes a little bit. And, Tennessee's got a huge game coming up, not this Saturday. Obviously, it's the home opener. Nobody wants to overlook the Bucs, and ETSU got to handle business. I'll talk about that here in a moment. But we know what's coming up down the line, right? Georgia's coming to town. And then we know the SEC schedule that follows that as well. You do have two quote-unquote cupcake games sandwiched around Georgia to where Ricky Gibson can work and try to get back to a full slate of health as quickly as he possibly can, to where you're not missing a whole lot of SEC action. Now, will he be back 1st of October, mid-October, November? I don't know right now. We don't know. But all we know is Josh Heupel said he's going to miss, quote, an extended amount of time, which is not great at all. So you look at cornerback right now. I'll get to Jaxson Moi here in a moment. You look at Tennessee starting cornerbacks right now, and you got Colton Hood and true freshman Ty Redmond. And goodness gracious, how big of a deal was getting Colton Hood from the transfer portal, right? You sitting here right in the early season, and you're trying to think, okay, well, what was the biggest transfer portal addition if you take Joey Aguilar out of the equation, who's Tennessee's starting quarterback? Colton Hood makes a whole lot of sense, as does Wendell Moy on the offensive line. That's a big-time debated topic if you want to go there, right? Like, which one was the bigger addition? Right now, because of the injury situation with Jermon McCoy, now Ricky Gibson, who Jermon McCoy is going to be a first-round pick, in my opinion, if he comes back and shows that he's fine off this injury. And Ricky Gibson, who I think after this year is going to be the NFL, potentially, I think that he comes back strong. Those are two NFL guys. And now you have Colton Hood that was flashing all over the place on Saturday, named SEC co-defensive player of the week, which I thought was really, really cool. He was phenomenal. And then you have Ty Redmond, who as a true freshman thrusted into the action, okay? And he played 60 snaps, and actually, according to the grades over Pro Football Focus, led all of Tennessee's defenders in with the highest grade, which, again, take that with a grain of salt. But honestly, if you want to look at those grades per Pro Football Focus, Ty Redmond led Tennessee, Colton Hood was number 2, Jalen McMurray was number 3. So, 3 members of your secondary graded out the highest on the defensive side of the football. How big has the emergence of Ty Redmond been, right? And I thought he played a phenomenal game against Syracuse. He's going to give up some plays. He's a true freshman. Plus, you're playing cornerback, which is the hardest position in all of sports to play. Demanding, it's tough. You're going to win. You're going to lose some battles, just like you're going to win some battles. But you feel good about where you are at the starting cornerback position right now, despite being down 2 NFL guys, in my opinion, and likely a first-rounder, Jamal McCoy. So that's your first flight at cornerback. Your second flight at cornerback, this kind of tells me, like, Boo Carter has got to be back at star full-time. Okay, so he went through his penance. He missed some practice time. He had to go do community service. He wasn't allowed to do a lot of scrimmage work. He started doing more and more and more, and then, depending on how the game went against Syracuse, depending on how much he was going to play at star, he ended up playing 22 snaps, so he was a part of the things. But now that's over. I mean, he's got to be your full-time star, or at least playing more than just 22 snaps to allow Jalen McMurray, who's currently your starting star, nickelback, to shift back over there and be the number 3 cornerback, like he was all last year for Ricky Gibson and Jamal McCoy. You're at a point now to where Jalen McMurray has got to play in a game. He's got to be in the rotation both at corner, and he's got to be in the rotation at star. And I think he can handle that. He's a veteran. He's played both positions at Temple, played both positions here at Tennessee. I think he can handle that. So I think Jalen McMurray is now your number 3 corner. And is it William Wright? Is that your 4th corner? William Wright is a walk-on. William Wright came in and played at the end of the game whenever Ty Redmond was banged up, battered, and bruised there for a little bit in the 4th quarter. But don't forget, William Wright was the one that was on the field in the 4th quarter, at the end of the 4th quarter against Alabama in 2022. His tackle on a slant pattern saved Alabama from scoring, and of course, you know the rest. Tennessee goes on to win. So very thin at the cornerback position, not ideal, but just kind of where we are right now. And I think Tennessee obviously is going to go forward with a true freshman in Ty Redmond and your transfer in Colton Hood, who was just named co-SEC Defensive Player of the Week. Now let's shift down to the defensive tackle position, okay? You are out Jaxson Moi for this week, Josh Heupel said. Jaxson Moi will not play this week. He said he hopes that he's back soon. He thinks he'll be back soon, but he didn't say anything else. He just said he will not be playing this week, okay? You're already down David Hobbs, okay? And so Bryson Easton is your starting defensive tackle. Who's going to be the other starting defensive tackle for not just Georgia, right? Hopefully that's Jaxson Moi, but for this week against ETSU. Could it be Don Bailey, who could slide inside from defensive end? He played a ton of snaps at defensive tackle against Syracuse. Would it make the most sense for it to be Nathan Robinson, who flashed immensely in the first half against Syracuse, forced fumble that led to a scoop and score, and a big hit on the quarterback Steve Angeli on a 3rd down throw in that first quarter? He was phenomenal, but he's coming off an injury. He has durability issues, in my opinion. It's hard for him to stay healthy. But when he's healthy, man, he's a player. So the question is, and I think this is one of the bigger questions, heading into ETSU week, as I guess as the week goes on, heading into kickoff, do you even play Nathan Robinson against ETSU? Need him to get fully healthy. He's got a bum ankle right now. Need him to get fully healthy. If he can go, do you even play him? And I'm not trying to disrespect ETSU at all, but Tennessee's going to be a big favorite. Tennessee's going to win big. It's a payday game, just is what it is. So what they decide to do with Nathan Robinson is going to be interesting, because I think that he's got to play a huge role for you, not just in the Georgia game, but moving forward. If I'm the case, if I'm a coach, even if Nathan Robinson is healthy enough to play, I'm not playing him. I'm not playing him against ETSU. So would your other starting defensive tackle be Ethan Utley? Would it be Jamal Wallace? Would it be, it wouldn't be Isaiah Campbell or Josh Snell. Those guys didn't even get in the game at defensive tackle. But my point is, against ETSU, Ethan Utley needs to play 40 snaps. Jamal Wallace needs to play 35 to 40 snaps. Isaiah Campbell needs to play 30 snaps. Josh Snell needs to play 20 to 25 snaps. Like Bryson Easton and Don Bailey can play defensive tackle, sure, but you know what you have in those guys, and you don't necessarily need those guys to play 40 to 45 snaps to beat ETSU. What an opportunity for the defensive tackles in this football game, while Jaxson Moi is sidelined, and of course David Hobbs is still sidelined as well. So not the best news you wanted on a Monday in terms of injury concerns. Jaxson Moi should be back in the fold soon, so that's great. Ricky Gibson out, quote, an extended period of time, end quote, according to Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel. That's not great, but I guess that's going to be a week-by-week thing. We'll just have to continue to check back in. But because of the emergence of Ty Redmond, the true freshman, who you feel really good about, and because of the transfer portal edition of the reigning SEC co-defensive player of the week in Colton Hood, man, at least the cupboard is not bare right now as you get set for the Bucks and, of course, the Bulldogs coming up next week. Hey, when we come back, ESPN is absolutely loving the University of Tennessee following its Week 1 win over Syracuse. More on that. What do I mean by that? That's coming up next right here on your Tuesday Locked On Vols. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, you got to get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting on projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts for a new project? SupplyHouse is the next day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The Part Finder tool and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every single detail matters so much more. Join the Trademaster program today and score serious perks with priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit SupplyHouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHCollege5, SHCollege5, for 5% off your first order. That's at SupplyHouse.com. Real people, real service. So shout out to SupplyHouse. And a big shout out to our friends over at Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Heck, you might have already used some of those, right? But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in, on average, in about 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Head on over to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege. Use promo code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet, Rugiet, Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege. Use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off today. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but not FDA approved, and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information today. Hey guys, welcome back to your Tuesday morning Locked On Vols. Everydayers, couldn't do the show without you. Your time is coming up next segment when I answer some of the mailbag questions. I always love early season overreactions, and this is boding well for Tennessee right now, so I don't hate it, certainly, but there's a lot of overreactions week number one, right? The national perspective on Tennessee, and I was having a discussion with some of the local beat writers earlier in the week, some of my colleagues, and just the national thought process by some national writers going into the Tennessee-Syracuse game, or really just the Tennessee season in general. It's like that's why it's so incredibly tough, and some do a very good job, but it's so incredibly tough to be an expert on everything from a national landscape. That's why you got to trust beat writers. You got to trust the people here on the ground floor each and every day. And a lot of people just not high opinions of the University of Tennessee heading into the season. Well, ESPN, the metrics have always been high on the University of Tennessee, right? Computers greater than people, right? I'll be interested to see where Tennessee's ranked when the polls come out later this afternoon, right? They had to wait and release it a day later because of the holiday, but also there was a college football game last night. I'll be interested to see where Tennessee's ranked in the top 25 later today, because the computer metrics over at ESPN have loved Tennessee from the get-go, where the people putting together power rankings or quarterback rankings or AP poll or whatever are not high on Tennessee. Well, ESPN, their matchup predictor, okay? ESPN's matchup predictor has changed its predictions, the percentages for the Tennessee game the Tennessee games this season following the opening win over Syracuse 45-26. Tennessee is now favored according to this ESPN matchup prediction that takes into account FBI. ESPN is now predicting Tennessee to win all the games on the schedule except one, which is Georgia. Okay, Georgia prior to Week 1. ESPN metrics gave Georgia a 59.3% chance to beat Tennessee. After Week 1, ESPN metrics give Georgia a 60% chance to beat Tennessee, so it went up by 0.7. So it went slightly up, not even a full degree, but it did go slightly up. So Georgia is the only game on the schedule, according to ESPN's matchup predictor, that Tennessee is going to lose. Most notably, Tennessee has been flipped to win on the road at Alabama and on the road at Florida. Okay, we'll start with Alabama. Obviously, Alabama looked horrendous in a road game in Tallahassee against FSU. I'm intrigued to see what Alabama looks like moving forward. A lot more issues there outside of just the quarterback, but the defense, whew. It's wild to think Nick Saban coached that team just 2 years ago, right? Alabama loses badly in week 1, looked horrible doing it. So Alabama entering the season, according to ESPN's matchup predictor, gave the Crimson Tide a 68.4% chance of beating Tennessee. After week 1, Tennessee 45-26 win over Syracuse, and Alabama's loss to Florida State on the road. I forgot the score, but it was lopsided. Tennessee is now favored to win that game, 52.7% chance. Wow, that's saying something. Reminder, Tennessee's not won in Tuscaloosa since 2003. So that's notable. And then the other game on the schedule is another place Tennessee's not won at since 2003, and that's in the Swamp. That's at Florida. Heading into the season, Florida, and this was always a 50-50 toss-up, Florida was given a 51.5% chance to win that football game that's set to take place in the Swamp on November the 22nd. And after week 1, when Florida just demolished like Long Island State University or whatever it was, Tennessee's win over Syracuse, Tennessee's now predicted to win that game by a 51.3% chance. So still very much 50-50, okay? Very much 50-50, a coin flip. But I thought that was interesting because, man, the overreactions. Everybody loves Tennessee now, right? I'll get into more of that here in just a moment. But Tennessee now, according to ESPN's matchup predictor that's on that app right there, you can look it up on the phone, that's very heavily based in the Football Power Index, Tennessee is predicted to only lose one other game this season, and that is Georgia. Before the season, Tennessee was given a 99% chance to beat ETSU this week. That didn't change after week 1. Tennessee's still predicted to have a 99% chance to win. UAB, Tennessee entering the season, was given a 98.1% chance to beat UAB. Tennessee's now 98.3% chance to beat UAB. So basically no movement there. Tennessee was given a 80.3% chance to beat Mississippi State on the road. After week 1, that percentage has actually gone down a little bit. Not a full point, but it has gone down to 79.8% chance of victory for the Volunteers. Tennessee moved up against Arkansas before the season, 76.6%. Now, 79.7% chance to beat Arkansas. Mentioned Alabama, Kentucky. It went up here as well. Before week 1, Tennessee was given a 74.8% chance to win on the road at Kroger, according to ESPN's matchup predictor. Now, Tennessee sits at 78.7% chance. Oklahoma jumped. Tennessee jumped in percent. I was surprised Tennessee was given this much of a percentage to win this Oklahoma game before the season, 73.7%. I was surprised by that anyway. After week 1, that percentage has gone up to 77.2%. So ESPN matchup predictor feels more confident about Tennessee now, even more against Oklahoma after the week 1. New Mexico State was 99%. That's the same. It's still 99%. And Vanderbilt, it actually went up as well. Tennessee before week 1, 85.2% chance to beat Vanderbilt. Now it's an 86.3% chance to beat Vanderbilt. So that's something we're going to reference all throughout the rest of the season, okay? How does the last week's game influence the ESPN's matchup predictor moving forward throughout the rest of the season? Also, on that note about how ESPN is loving the University of Tennessee, ESPN does an updated college football playoff predictions after every single weeks of games, right? And 2 ESPN writers have put Tennessee in the college football playoff field. Now, this is where I think the overreaction's a little bit much, right? Tennessee's played one game, and it was against Syracuse, who I still don't think is going to be very good, at least defensively. But you take it, right? Bill Conley and Andrea Edelson, 2 out of 9 total ESPN writers who make these predictions, had the Vols in their 12-team playoff field. Adelson has Tennessee as the number 7 seed. Conley, who's behind the metrics and the matchup predictor on the FPI, has Tennessee as a number 9 seed. How about that? In case you're wondering, Edelson's projection had number 7 Tennessee hosting number 10 Florida State. Overreaction, right? Let's see how that 2-10 Florida State team from last year goes on and plays the rest of the year. Hey, give them credit, man. They look great, always have talent. They beat the crap out of Alabama. How does Florida State continue on through the season? But they have Florida State in this as well. Conley would have Tennessee, the number 9 seed, going to number 8 Iowa State. So, some projections altered following week 1 where Tennessee controlled and took care of Syracuse by a final score of 45-26. We'll continue on. Mailbag questions coming up in segment number 3. You everydayers, your time the Shon's coming up next right here on your Tuesday Locked On Vols. The NFL season is almost here. We are days away, and the FanDuel Sportsbook app is making you ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel Sportsbook because I can do futures. Also, I can dabble in this game and that game. I can do a little parlay action on a Sunday afternoon. College football as well this past weekend. The big matchups coming up this weekend as well. You got Oklahoma and Michigan. You've got Ole Miss and Kentucky. A couple, 2 SEC teams squaring off. Excited to see what some of these slates of the college football schedule has in store for the rest of the weekend, but also the NFL slate as well. It's easy. Best way to add a little bit more energy to Sundays. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keep an eye out on the fantasy app as well. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 wager. Again, if you're a new customer, bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Again, shout out to our friends over at FanDuel. And college football is back, and Gametime can help you, right? Tailgates, rivalries, energy in the stand, there's nothing quite like it, but let's be real. Sometimes just getting tickets to these events is tougher than the actual game. Endless queues, hidden fees, price jumps at checkouts, all that and more. That's why I use Gametime. The app gives you the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best price with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Gametime, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, put in the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We got a final segment left here of this Tuesday morning Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Cain. Thanks so much for being here, making this a part of your morning routine. Try to take a segment each and every week to answer some questions. Didn't get as many questions as I thought I would here after the first game of the season, right? You guys all good? Know everything about Tennessee? I don't, but at least I know some things. I don't know everything, that's for dang sure. Nonetheless, though, we did get some questions. Appreciate you guys sending those in. We will start with Randy. Eric, what would you say has been the biggest overreaction to Saturday? The defense isn't as good as we thought it would be, or that the quarterback is better than we thought it would be? Love the crossover shows. Keep them coming. Good question. I mean, Joey Aguilar, what he did on Saturday was not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, I certainly didn't think that he would I thought he would throw for 2 touchdowns and about 250 yards, and so he was at 247 and 3 touchdowns. So what I saw from Joey Aguilar, I wasn't surprised by, but the overreaction that Tennessee's defense is lousy, man, that is very much an overreaction for so many different reasons. There's injuries right now, some key personnel, especially at cornerback, at defensive tackle, sideline right now. Tennessee was playing a ton of young guys at the same time there in the fourth quarter of that game. That's no excuse. They got to get better, right? They're going to be better for it. But that's not how you dialed it up there week 1, especially in the second half. So I think, again, call me crazy, I think Tennessee's defense is going to be just fine. So, Randy, to answer your question, I think the overreaction of, Tennessee doesn't have a defense, Tennessee's defense is awful, that's what I would go with. We'll go to Kurt now. We'll stay on the defensive side of the football here. Do you expect the majority of Tennessee's games this year to look like the Syracuse game, where they maybe give up more points than expected, but the aggressiveness that leads to sacks, turnovers that make a difference? Yeah, I'm on board with this, man, especially until you get your dogs back, some of your dogs, right? Like you need to replenish a defensive tackle. You need Jaxson Moi in there. You need David Hobbs back in there to give you some true depth at the defensive tackle position. You need your first-round draft pick, arguably, your All-American cornerback Jamal McCoy back. You need Rickey Gibson, who, again, in segment number 1, I think is an NFL guy after this year. You need him back. I mean, Tennessee's got some guys, some key personnel players that play a big role for this team sidelined right now. So until those guys get back, certainly I could see Tennessee winning a lot of games. But even when those guys get back, I don't think this defense is going to be statistically as good as last year's was. But I do think Tennessee can sack the quarterback more. I do think Tennessee can make up for it by forcing some turnovers. And in result, you just need to be better than the other team, right? I'm a big stats guy, so like I'll always want to outdo, that's why I pay attention to the numbers and the views and the downloads and everything to this podcast, because I'm so competitive and I want to be the best. And I thank you guys for allowing me to even be in that conversation. But I don't think that maybe this defense will be statistically as good. It's not going to be bad at all, but you might take a step back statistically. But the aggressiveness, the durability, the depth at certain positions is going to allow Tennessee to go out there and make some plays for sure. So, Kurt, I'm on board with that, especially with some of the guys that are still sidelined right now. Let's go to Ed. What overall letter grade do you give the Vols for their victory over Syracuse? Better yet, why that grade? I mean, overall, I got to give it a B+, and it's not an A because Tennessee's defense didn't finish the way that it needed to. It's not an A because Tennessee couldn't get off the field on 4th down that led to touchdowns 3 times. It's not an A because in that 4th quarter, Tennessee got pushed around in the run game a little bit. But outside of that, again, Tennessee had a scoop and score touchdown. Tennessee had an interception on defense. Tennessee did a lot of good things defensively that was disrupting, right? Offensively, dang near had 300 yards on the ground. Dang near had 500 yards of total offense. Joey Aguilar, your quarterback, 3 touchdowns. You had some explosive plays. Again, it wasn't perfect, and that's with the Plan B offensive line, right, where David Sanders didn't even play in that game. So, all in all, man, again, that was a great Week 1 win. Like, I mean, that's a B+. It's only a B+. It's not an A because the defense did not finish the way that it needed to finish. But I'll give it a B+ for sure, knowing that, again, there's a lot of room for improvement, no doubt. But I think Tennessee did a bang-up job in Week 1. Let's go to Matthew. Thoughts on everyone's favorite quarterback's debut in the Rose Bowl? I knew somebody was going to ask me this, and if I was truly only caring about numbers and hits and clicks and not necessarily my brand, why even talk about the Syracuse game, right? Sunday morning, there should have been an episode out there, just Nico in the headline and this and that, just to get the clicks and all that. But I do care about my brand more than just the money I make off this podcast. I know that's not the same for a lot of people that are in this industry and certainly on YouTube, or on audio as well. Like there's a lot of people that don't care about the brand, but there's a lot of people that I collaborate with that absolutely care about the brand and certainly work with on the beat. Anyway, that's a side conversation. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. I know there was a lot of Tennessee fans up late hate watching. I know there was a lot of Tennessee fans up there commenting on Twitter, on message boards and all that. And again, just like the overreactions we talked about from Tennessee's first game, that is just game 1 for Nico. Okay, so again, I think we can all agree, even though we don't like him or some people can't stand him or whatever, I think the majority of us here can agree that he's got a ton of talent. He's got to reach that potential. But the biggest issue here is, again, it's the whole thing that his camp tried to pit this on Tennessee. It's, this offensive system is not worth developing in. I'm not going to be developed into the best player that I can be. That was a talking point. There's no talent around me. That was a big talking point. It's not about the money. There's no talent around me. This system can't develop me. It's not about the money. Okay. So you decided to do all this on the final day of spring practice, where your options were limited to begin with in the transfer portal, but you just want to go back home and play on a football team that certainly, I'm going to say it one more time, certainly doesn't have nearly the much talent that the place you just left. I don't know, man. It was a tough watch. I didn't watch the entire game. I watched a lot of it, and it was not a good watch for sure. And, I never wish the downfall of any student athlete or anything like that. I mean, I hope he succeeds, but it was not a good debut for Nico Iamaleava with UCLA, that is for sure. But again, just like overreactions to talking with Tennessee, That was just one game. We'll see what happens. I think that final score was, like 45-10, though? Not good. Let's go to Daniel. Here's a comment from the YouTube channel, just on the game in general. Offense, I saw an offense that, although had a few hiccups, should be one of the elites of college football. Defense, I saw a defense that wanted to be elite at times. The talent is there. The execution needs more refinement, but there's no doubt on the talent. The Georgia game will no doubt be a challenge. There will be a firing on all cylinders. It will all come down to mistakes. Yeah, a couple things here. I don't know if Tennessee's offense will be amongst the elites in college football. It might be. Heck, depending on how the passing game translates into SEC play, the run game, which I think is going to be very, very good, but how does it stack up week in and week out in the SEC play? Defense, again, I've talked about it a lot. They certainly were elite. I agree with you. They certainly were elite at times, especially in that first half, forcing some turnovers, scooping scores, hitting the quarterback on third downs. You got to get off the field, though. Fourth down conversions, some of those third downs, you got to get off the field. Daniel, I appreciate you for listening for sure. Lastly, we'll go to JC. This is another YouTube comment. This is where we'll end our show. Andre Turntime was not good. PFF grade 55. We got to play someone else there. I think Andre Turrentine, and again, take Pro Football Focus grades with a grain of salt. I use Pro Football Focus every day. Like, I love snap counts. I love coverage reps, how many times they were thrown to, batted balls, quarterback pressure reps, all that and more. There's a lot of useful things there for me to use. I don't take stock into the grades because, again, only the Tennessee coaching staff or that said coaching staff for that player on that team knows the exact responsibilities each and every single play. And it changes. Like, you can be in cover 2, right? But on this play, when you see this guy, your responsibility changes to this, or whatever the case may be. It can change, right? So I don't put a lot of stock into grades. And Andre Turntine also feels like a guy that's never going to grade out high on Pro Football Focus. And there's some guys like that, right? Javonte Spraggins was like that for so long, up until his senior year. He never graded high out on Pro Football Focus, yet he was, one of Tennessee's better offensive linemen for a couple of years. Ollie Lane was like that as a starter a couple years ago. Like, Ollie Lane would have a really, really good day, and then you look at his Pro Football Focus grade and it wouldn't be there. Like, so again, take all that with a grain of salt. I don't think Andre Turntine's ever going to be a guy that has a high Pro Football Focus grade, but in terms of playing, he's going to be in there for sure. He's going to be in there playing because you only feel comfortable with 3 safeties right now, and he's the elder statesman. Now, Idris Farouk, Caleb Beasley coming on strong, but Turntine's not going anywhere. All right, that is going to do it here for this edition of Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning. Every dayers could not do the show without you. If you're watching or listening to the show, maybe for the first time, maybe for the first couple of times, hey, thank you for being here. Pull up a chair. We'll do it again tomorrow, okay? There's no better time to link up with us here on Locked On Vols than right now during football season. It's free, right? This is free content, but I ask you, please subscribe on YouTube, like this video on YouTube. It helps with the algorithms. If you're listening to us, please subscribe to the channel, download these episodes. That is how you help me, but also you help this show grow and you get in front of more and more Tennessee football fans. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you guys. We'll do it again tomorrow. We got Word Wednesday coming up tomorrow's show. We'll have Throwback Thursday coming up on Thursday with Noah Taylor. Got a lot of more stuff to get into this week. Tennessee and ETSU on Saturday for the home opener at Neyland Stadium. This is Locked On Vols.